Good morning, anglers. Welcome to this week's Indian Lake Fishing Report, brought to you by Mike's Bait and Tackle, Route 235, Lakeview, Ohio, and powered by Indian Lake Aerials. For all of your aerial photography needs, you can visit Indian Lake Aerials on Facebook. This week's fishing report is for the week of June 18th, 2021. And last night's current water temperature was approximately 78 degrees. Now we have a rainstorm moving in. We're going to have to see where we're at here. This is going to change a few things here. It might change the water temperature drastically. It might change the fish turning on and off drastically. We're going to see. And let's see, there's a couple things I'd like to make mention of here. Another thanks goes out to Tosh Collins. And there's a family, I watched a video doing a cleanup. I think they were at Dream Bridge. Thanks. You guys rocked that. Got that all cleaned up. You didn't have to do that, but you did. And we're grateful for that. Tosh organized another cleanup for this Sunday. Paradise Island from 3 to 6. Everybody's going to meet up at 3 p.m. weather permitting. Okay. And for everyone that participated in the cleanup, there will be a $100 drawing at the end of that day. So somebody's going to win $100 for doing a good deed. And we'd like to thank the people that donated that $100 also. This is Father's Day weekend. I hope everybody enjoys it, has a good Father's Day. And it's also Ohio Free Fishing Day. So this Saturday and Sunday, if you do not have a fishing license, you can fish for free. I have a little information under my hat here. I think within the next few weeks, there's going to be a new program, mainly headed up by Tosh Collins. We put our heads together to come up with something to help keep the lake cleaned up. And we come up with a little program called Love My Lake. And we're going to see what we can put together to help keep that lake cleaned up. And also, I'd like to say, if there's any individuals or businesses out there that would like to donate any product or some small funds or anything like that to help motivate and keep a project like this going, please contact Tosh Collins or myself, and we'll see what we can get put together. I'd like to incentivize, a few things, and we'll see if we can get a real good program put together and keep everything cleaned up. When it comes to multi-species, sometimes big isn't always better. Don't be afraid to switch up to micro baits, micro crankbaits, micro jigs. They'll be your best friend. I've caught many species using a micro jig or micro crankbait trying to catch crappie, bass, catfish, perch, the whole 9 yards. It can be a ton of fun. Okay, the crappie. Let's talk about the crappie. The crappie are still being reported being taken from underneath bridges under a bobber using minnows on a small jig 3 to 4 foot deep under the bridges. They're also being caught along the rocks. Reports are along Pugh Island, and also some back in the game reserve by jigging the lily pads. Bass. Bass are still being reported all around the lake. But I've been getting a lot of reports around the Atchison area using spinner baits, worms, night crawlers on a bobber, all thrown around structures, under docks, along the walls. Okay. The sawguy. Let's talk about sawguy for a minute. Sawguy you're going to be able to catch all year long. You just have to kind of switch up your tactics sometimes a little bit. You're still catching them, trolling, using a worm harness out in the main lake. And a lot of people overlook there's an area out there across from the state park that can be pretty productive. Um, Also across from the Pro Bass Shop out in that area, all the way up to the spillway. And there are reports that they are cutting weeds. So pay attention, be careful for that machine out there. They're trying to make it nicer out there where you guys can get up and down through them channels and also fish them a little easier. I know that's been a little bit of a problem there, but that does keep a good fishery. So, the bluegill, there's still reports of eggs being in the bluegill, so I don't think they're quite off their spawning beds yet, but there's still a lot of reports of them catching them over at Pugh Island along the rocks, using a small jig or a little micro jig tipped with a wax worm. The white bass, south and west bank, they're catching a lot of white bass and using a worm and a bobber. Leeches are working. They're trolling with worm harnesses for those also out in the main lake. And a white curly tail grub, on a jig. That's been very productive for white bass off the bank. Been off the bank in the channels and along the main lake. Channel cat are being caught all around the whole lake, off the bank, out in the main lake. Worms, minnows, under a bobber. Leeches are working well for a lot of different species right now. Flatheads are on fire, and there's reports. I've had reports that people are starting to see some spawning marks on some of the cat that they're catching on, the flatheads. Them guys are catching them by using bigger live baits. When I last talked to Mike at Mike's Bait Shop, everybody was asking, so he's got in a bunch of big live baits for your flathead cats. So make sure you stop over there and get some of them baits off of him. Perch, starting to catch a lot of little perch, with a few sizable perch being caught. And they're being caught along the rocks. A lot of times they're catching the perch while they're catfishing. So they're catching them tight line or your standard perch rig, or using a worm or leech off of a bobber. They're under a bobber. The spillway. The spillway is going to be active here, in a couple days. We'll have to see where we're at here on this rain. They're talking some torrential rain, maybe a couple inches here. So be safe going down there. Let that spillway go down just a little bit after we get this rain. And you're sure to catch mixed bags. So everybody be safe out there. If you do get a chance, try to help and clean up. If you bring something in, take it out with you. Always try to leave things look better than you found them. It's kind of the outdoorsman code. I know you get a lot of people that probably come from out of town. Just somebody that, hey, let's go fishing today, that don't normally go fishing. It's unfortunate, but let's do our part and keep things looking nice. Until next week, take care. Enjoy your Father's Day weekend.